Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz test postmortem, a postmortem of my Blitz game number 351. I was white here, and after e4, e5, I decided to play the King's Gambit, f4. So you can see it's actually the second most popular move here. An interesting way to play. It does kind of give the opening advantage away, but it leads to lots of exciting and tactical play, particularly if black accepts it. If black declines the gambit, then you go on with a normal sort of opening, and where white has the typical opening advantage. Here you've lost your opening advantage, but at the same time you get a lot of fun play. And there's a lot of pitfalls, traps, but g5 here is the main move. It's kind of a surprising move if you haven't seen this gambit before. The main point is to defend the f-pawn for a moment. White is going to play the d-pawn forward and just try and gather up the f-pawn with his bishop. And if he can get away with that, get the pawn back with the bishop, then he's in good shape. So this hampers the development of the bishop because the bishop doesn't have many good squares if you hold on to this pawn here. So it's weakening black's king side, obviously, but it has a positional idea and cramping white's bishop here too. So the normal response from white is to just play h4, trying to undermine that pawn. And now notice it's too soon to play h6 here, because pawn takes, and rook takes rook. This rook is undefended in the corner. So h6 doesn't work. So the normal response is g4, continuing to harass the knight. And now there's two moves for the knight, here to g5 or here to e5. So let's just briefly take a look at knight to g5. Maybe I'll play this sometime. I haven't played this myself in a game. In an over-the-board game, I usually play the Kieseritzky Gambit. But this is the Allgaier Gambit, and the idea is after h6, you're just going to sacrifice the knight here on f7, and then you're going to get a lot of tempos on the king and quick development with d4 and bishop to c4. And anyway, it's kind of a crazy way to play, but you get an open position, and it's actually quite difficult to defend. If you look at the evaluation of the chess engine, black is better. But there's, it's not like he's down a whole piece. It's just more like down a pawn. So it's a tough position for black to play too. So interesting play, but not sound probably. So knight e5, the Kieseritzky Gambit, is the main line, and then knight f6 is a typical move here. Also bishop g7 can be played here, but that can be kept in reserve too. There's no threat to the pawn on f7 now. So h5. I think this is called the long whip variation. I'm not sure how it got that name, but just protecting the pawn. When the knight went to e5, it was actually threatening to take that pawn on take the pawn on g4 there. And if that happens, black's king side is really in shreds, so he really needs to do something about that. Notice knight f6 also defends the pawn. Is that true? Hold on a second. Let's put knight f6 on the board. I think it looks like you could take this pawn. Oh, but then you give away the e-pawn. That's right. Yeah, I knew there was some kind of trick there. So this knight f6 defends this g-pawn by attacking the e-pawn kind of indirectly. So the normal move here is bishop c4, continuing in Gambit style to try and attack the weaknesses. So anyway, my opponent instead played, I played knight e5 and my opponent played h5, the long whip variation. And I played d4, a very rarely played move. It looks like bishop c4 is the best move here, going immediately after the f7 weakness and forcing some kind of concession from black. After bishop to c4 here, hitting f7, rook to h7, awkwardly defending, or knight to h6 are the moves, it looks like. Okay. But the game went h5 and d4, immediately threatening to win the pawn on f4. And so d6 is the normal move here, kicking my knight, and the knight goes to d3, I guess, continuing to apply pressure to this pawn. And then bishop e7 has been played before, just giving up the pawn. But it looks like f3, and we're out of the opening book. So I've come out of the opening okay, actually, after this exchange. He should still ignore all this and just develop his bishop, but he took back, and then I took with the queen. So this helped me. I got my pawn back, and I have actually quite a bit of control in the center. My king side is a bit exposed, but everything is protected for the moment. He doesn't have enough pieces developed to take advantage of any open lines towards my king. So, I have a slight opening edge and an interesting position. He gains some tempo on my queen and on the center, but I get my pieces developed. Maybe knight d2 is not precise. He's building up to threaten this e-pawn here, and I felt the need to defend it. Bishop to g2 is the recommended way to defend it here. Okay. Interesting. I'm not sure why bishop g2 is better, but I missed this idea of bishop g2. Oh, because I was wanting to play bishop to e2 to allow myself to castle queenside, so I wasn't thinking about bishop g2, but it looks like that's the best way to defend it. So I play knight d2, he castles, I play bishop e2, and yeah, now I'm starting to get into trouble. Once again, I should probably have played bishop g2 and just castled kingside if necessary. As crazy as it looks, if this open position, if I have enough pieces out, I guess I have enough control to not come under fierce attack here. But I get into a little trouble in the center here after this move, bishop e2. So knight g to f6, going after the center, and I pushed on with e5, and this is a definite mistake. So I went from better to about even to now I'm worse, and so he takes advantage of my mistake here. It's just not I'm not able to hold on to things. Let me see. I took back with a knight. It looked like I was holding on to things for a while. And he just tried to trade off the bishop here. Maybe I should have taken with the king, but actually, no, it gives queen e2. The problem is, I've got this lineup on the e file here, which he can take advantage of. So the best move for black would be rook he1. He played knight d5, so maybe let me off a little bit. I could have gone knight to d3 right here. Yeah, knight to d3 is a good move. It defends the bishop. I was worried about this bishop being under attack. So knight to d3 defends the bishop and opens up this line, and I can just trade queens and then maybe walk my king away if necessary to the queen side, and I'll be okay. So instead, I noticed my bishop was under attack. I retreated it, and now he's got tremendous threats along this file that I can't really solve, and you can see the valuation is already winning for black, basically. He started with rook d to e8, and now I should just castle here and get out of the mess. I'm still worse, though. I tried to defend my queen. I was trying to move my knight away, because I figured after castles, well, let's actually back up, take a look at that. After he played rook d8, if I were to castle here, I thought he could play f6 and go after the knight. After f6, I have the move queen to f3. It's a counterattack. So my knight is still defended by a pawn, and so if he takes, I take his knight, and so that's the way to save it. So I didn't spot that. I played rook to h2, defending my queen, so my knight could move away, because this queen is under attack if the knight moves. But he played queen f8, and now there's this nasty pin from the rook, and there's no good way to deal with this. I tried knight e4, but it doesn't work. He trades, and I could have done something here, and d takes. Oh, I could have taken with the pawn, maybe. Okay, took with there. He took. I took with the pawn here, and now he takes back with the rook, and he's got this nasty pin. And this move f5 is coming to hit that knight, and I can't get away from it. So I just castled at this point. There's nothing better, but it's not very promising. And he threw in queen h6 check. Let's see, I could have... I missed this idea. I could have just played queen d2 there, unpinning and attacking his queen. And if he takes my queen, I take with the knight. That's a pretty nice way to get out of it. And if he takes the knight, then I take his queen, and then I take take his knight. So that's interesting. Okay, so there were ways to get out of it. I just wasn't particularly sharp here. Okay, king b1, running away from the check. He plays f5, and now he's rounding up this piece. I try to arrange it so I only lose an exchange here. Let's see, what's the engine think of this idea? Yeah, rook takes d5 is the best among several bad alternatives. It's better to give up the exchange than to give up a whole piece. But black is basically just winning here. And let's just go through the next few moves. I wanted to get to 1 point, but he keeps the advantage all the way through. I try to... There was something here I could have tried. Right here, knight g6. Would have been... That's interesting. I was thinking about this knight g6 idea. I guess it kind of traps his rook here. So knight g6. Okay, yeah, it's not that great. The engine evaluation starts to drop down. He plays rook e2. He moves this rook. And this pawn is hanging. Rook takes f5. I guess that's the idea, is I do pick up a pawn that way. It'd be better than what I played, but still winning for black. Okay, I went king d2, and let's go forward a few more moves, get to one more critical point here. I did want to mention that I was reluctant to trade queens because I would be better off if I kept the queen on. I did manage to round up some of those loose pawns, but he's taking good advantage of pins and stuff like that, and he's just marching these forward. It was this position here where he checked my king and I stepped away. The simplest way to win this is just to take that pawn, and if I take back, you take with the king. You just got a king and 2 pawns against king, and that's just an easy win. But anyway, I gave up in a couple more moves because he was able to gather the pawn without without even trading, and he's also threatening checkmate at this point. So, it looks like mate is unavoidable. Mate in 9. Okay, so I didn't resign too soon or anything. Anyway, interesting game. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.